Remember one thing, social issues are very, very important. Of course, economic issues are important, political issues are important, current affairs are very important, but at the same time, social issues are very, very important. And remember what you've written in the DAF, it is very, very important. And think about the possible questions. If you write about Bollywood movies, then you should be able to pick up few movies and be able to talk about those movies, the ones which you have seen recently. One of the best way to practice or rather to prepare is to stand in front of a mirror and speak, because when you are speaking loudly in front of a mirror, then you are able to hear and you are able to see also how you are presenting yourself. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, congratulations. It's really a very, very nice, and your hard work has really paid that you have come to the last stage. Now it's just a few days that you will be able to get your results and be officer. Now, while interacting with some of you, I have found that there are certain things which you need to really think and focus upon. Uh, First of all, I mean, what I've realized and what I've seen is that most of the candidates uh, who have engineering background have opted for sociology or anthropology as their options. I'm saying most of them. So when you're talking about sociology or anthropology, it is very, very important that as optional subjects, you should be able to take out few questions which can be asked. I mean, you can think, write down 10 to 12 questions which you think can be asked. And that is not very difficult. Why? Mainly because the paper has few thinkers and has certain topics which are very, very contemporary and which can be discussed and which can raise certain debates. For example, the thinkers like Karl Marx, Max Weber, Durkheim, these are the classical thinkers. And we say classical thinkers, it's very, very important that you should be able to relate what they have said, what is their theory, and how that can be applied to understand the contemporary society. Say, for example, Karl Marx. Now, one of the most important thing about Karl Marx is that he says that among all the other factors, the economic factor is the most important factor. So everything is related to economics, economic determinism. That is the most important thing. And from there onwards, one can understand the society. So it's very important for you to understand the methodology of each thinker, the method which they have adopted to understand the society. That is very, very important. The other important topics which are there are the various institutions, like institution of marriage, institution of family, religious institution, and cultural institutions. Remember one thing, social issues are very, very important. Of course, economic issues are important, political issues are important, current affairs are very important, but at the same time, social issues are very, very important. That is what is happening in our society. Because as an administrator, suppose certain policies, programs, you are asked to implement or to think about it. You should be aware about what is the current status or what the society is all thinking about, because society ultimately is what you and I think about. So therefore it is very, very important that you should have these kind of understanding of these issues. Now we always say the society is changing very fast. So first of all, write down what are the changes which are seeing around us. Changes in terms of legal aspects, changing in terms of economic aspects, in terms of political aspects, like that. Say, for example, we are talking a lot about gay marriages, gay relationships. We are talking about LGBT community. We're talking about inclusive society. We're talking about live-in relationships. We are talking about certain benefits which are given to women, such as Maternity Benefit Act, increase in the age of marriage. We are talking about changes in adoption laws, changes in abortion laws. We are also talking about whether women should be given property rights or not. So for all these things, it is very, very important that you should have a balanced opinion, because no social issues can have one-sided answer. So it's very, very important that you should be able to list out the positive impact of any change, the negative impact, and then, of course, your own opinion. That is also very, very important. Now, when we talk about women, we say that why should women issues be discussed, or why should they be in women's empowerment? The first thing one should be able to say is that since women constitute 50% of the population, it is very, very important that women's voice should be heard, women's issues should be thought about, and also whatever we are talking about, it should be seen in terms of equality between men and women. And how, if one asks how can you achieve equality, you can achieve equality by certain measures, those measures which are backed by a sensitivity, by understanding. And how do we increase sensitivity? By talking about it, by debating about it, by understanding. So my thing would be that just prepare few questions, a related to your optional papers. If it's a sociology paper, then very easy. Think about certain thinkers, see their relevance to the contemporary times, talk about the way the institutions in are seen. Because if they ask you about family, then it's very thing to say that earlier it was joint family, and they say that it's now nuclear family, stop at it. But then there is a step forward, because again we are going back to the joint family. As a student of sociology, you must have read a lot of people who have talked about it: Professor Aim Shah, M.S.A. Rao, Srinivas, all these thinkers, the Indian thinkers who are there, their contribution, understanding their contribution also very, very important. Indian sociologists make a list of 4 to 5 sociologists who have talked about the caste system. Why? Mainly because we are talking about caste census, how important it is to have, to think about the caste in India. So therefore, it is very, very important that you should be able to understand or rather be able to speak about the contributions of M.N. Srinivas, the contribution of G.S. Gure, the contribution of Risley, all that. Then, of course, the tribes. India has a huge tribal population. You should be able to understand the status of Indian tribes. That is, it's not uniform all over India, because India is, the economic development in India is not uniform. So depending upon the economic development, depending upon the areas and the topography, the status of the Indian tribe is also different. So therefore, you need to understand that what is the status, which is not uniform. So, tribes in transaction. So it's very, very important. You should be able to answer the questions related to the Indian tribes. And of course, OBC, because a lot of people do talk about, there are questions related to the reservation policy. There are people who are OBCs in different, there is a state list, there is a center list. So you should be able to talk about how do we define OBCs and what is the whole definition of creamy layer, non-creamy layer. You should be aware, because if you are claiming, your a position, or if you're thinking or you have applied under a category, it is very, very important that you should be able to answer all the questions related to the category under which you have applied, and what is the constitutional status of that. So that is very, very important. Now, about your hobbies and your extracurricular activities, please be very sure what you've written, and remember what you've written in the DAF. It is very, very important. And think about the possible questions. If you write about Bollywood movies, then you should be able to pick up few movies and be able to talk about those movies, the ones which you have seen recently. If you talk about reading as your hobby, then you should at least think about 5 to 6 books which you have read, and you can, think about certain questions in your mind and answer them. One of the best way to practice, or rather to prepare, is to stand in front of a mirror and speak. Because when you are speaking loudly in front of a mirror, then you are able to hear and you are able to see also how you are presenting yourself. So that is also very important. Also, it's important that you ask your family members or your friends to ask certain questions related to your DAF, related to your state, related to your educational place where you have studied, and also about your hobbies, and then see how you answer them. That is also very, very important. Talk to your friends, listen to the television debates, talk to your family members, and most important is stand in front of a mirror and speak loudly. Because when you speak loudly, you are able to hear your own voice. And when you hear your own voice, you're able to understand where you stand. So, very quickly, I'll repeat myself. Uh, Important to just talk about gender issues because that is something which is very, very important. If you look at all the political parties, they always talk about saying that they are gender sensitive. So, therefore, in the state to which you belong, it is very, very important in that state what are the policies, schemes, and programs for women. That is very, very important. You must understand and talk about it. Then also you need to talk about the fact that you know what are your hobbies. That's again, as I said earlier, also hobbies are very, very important. It's a passion. So therefore, passion may you should be able to show the passion towards your hobby. So I think I have been able to give you certain tips. And the other is, of course, on that particular day, how you feel and how you answer. All the best.